Hey guys, first of all I'd just like to apologise for any interference in the outside world that you may hear. I think my neighbour's getting something done to his roof or something like that, and it's raining, and like the builders are very unprofessional, but they're like screaming and cheering for the rain, saying yeah I love the rain. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry, but hopefully if it's too bad I'll decide to put music like over top it, and hopefully that will drown out the annoying sounds. So yeah, this is the books/series I'll try to finish. It was going to be books/series that I'll never complete, but I don't want to be so pessimistic. And there goes the drilling, if you can hear that. I don't want to be so pessimistic, so I'm kind of sort of gently ushering myself to not rule out the possibility of finishing either a specific series or a book in general in the near future, because I might eventually get round to it. The first one I'm going to talk about I actually forgot to write down, and I don't have to hand right now because it's in an awkward place on my bookshelf, but that is the Beautiful Creatures series. I finished the first one and I wasn't really that wowed about it. To be honest, I can't really remember a lot about it, but I know that I usually have trouble with double authors trying to write a book, and I believe this is a double author book. I can't remember who wrote it right now, but yeah. I just had trouble getting into it, and then when I did get into it and finally understood what it was about, I felt like it was a little too late, you know. I didn't really realise that they were supposed to be witches. It's not really a spoiler or anything because it's been out for ages now and people kind of already know that. I don't know if I was just slow to pick up on the fact that they were supposed to be witches, sorceresses or something, but by the time I understood, all the big drama in the first book was going on and I just felt like I missed out, or I just wasn't really there for the journey. The reason I'd like to finish this series is because it is a quad, I guess you'd call it a quad series, 4 books in it I think, and when I saw the trailer a while ago for the actual Beautiful Creatures movie, it looked pretty good, and that's what made me pick up the book first. But I don't know, I really want to watch the series, but I feel like I felt like I needed to read the book first, and it was kind of rushed. Maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it, but I do want to really give this series a chance because everyone seems to enjoy it. The positive reviews I've seen for it have been really positive, so I kind of just want to give it a go, you know. The next series is something that I briefly talked about in my last book wrap-up, and it's the Last Werewolf series by Glen Duncan. I actually don't have that specific book right now because I gave it back to the library, but I do have the second book here, which is Tallulah Rising, and the third book over on my little book stack over there, and I'm about to give this back to the library today, so I better put it back over there. So I chose to talk about this because it's the most recent book or /series that I've struggled with. Now, after reading the second book, I do have slightly more diluted opinions. I do like it a bit better, but this is completely based on when I read the first book, because this is when I kind of had my feelings and I wrote them down straight away, so I'm just kind of doing it from that perspective at the moment. So the plot is Jacob, our protagonist for the main part of the book, finds out he's the last werewolf. Jacob, you are the last of your kind. I'm sorry, that's like a sort of paraphrased quote. But after a few hundred years, he's really willing to just completely forget life, and he is attempting to commit suicide in a way, and it's just him, like, he's counting down the days to his suicide, which will be like the next full moon. But the people after him, I think they're called the Hunt, they're like the ones that have been killing the population of werewolves, and to some extent maybe vampires. I can't really remember, I'm probably not that, but let's just talk about the werewolf side, seeing as this is a werewolf book. The Hunt wants the honour to actually kill Jacob himself as the last werewolf. Yeah, so they want the honour of his death, pretty much. So it sounds as though this book will be great, but really it's just so much complex words in even larger complex sentences with horrible depictions of sex and the human/werewolf body, and the whole ordeal of that first book just made me feel really uncomfortable, and I don't know, I just wasn't expecting such a hypersexualized story. I thought the plot would actually thrive so that I'd be able to see through all the sexual things, like the constant mention of it, but I just wasn't able to. It was just so much in your face that I wasn't able to see through. The 3 reasons why I do want to finish this series is, 1, I'm curious how the trilogy ends, because when I was writing up this kind of reviewish thing, there was a new kind of protagonist near the end of the book. I won't say too much, but I preferred that style of writing, and I just wanted, that kind of made me a bit more eager for the second book and so on, the third book. After reading the second book, I do still really want to carry on. I'm a bit more excited to get to the third book. 2, the mention of vampires really excited me, if that's the correct word, and I wanted to know more. I was hoping they'd go more into the vampire side of this world, because it's all based in the human world. It's just, I don't know, a really interesting take. And 3, I wanted to see if the writing became a bit more understandable, which by the second book it did. I think it is because it's got a different protagonist, where it's looking from a different point of view and from a different culture in a way. She speaks differently, and it's less intense and over complex like than Jacob's was. The third book in specific that I want to get around eventually to complete is Fallen by Lauren Kate. I think I started this around 2 years ago. It's still got my bookmark in it. I'm like a little over halfway, maybe like 2/3 of the way through. Yeah, I got this I started reading it about 2 years ago on loan from a friend, and it got beaten and bashed up in my bag. I don't know how that happened. I've never treated a book like that, but look how rough and bent up it is. Anyway, I felt really guilty about it, so I ended up buying her a new copy, even though she'd read the whole series and stuff. I just thought, I know it'll look nice on your bookshelf, I'll buy you a new copy, because I am honestly so sorry for what happened. And she just ended up giving me this one, which I took anyway, but I wasn't enjoying it whilst I was reading it anyway. So being given the copy that I accidentally beat up, it just kind of made me feel like I have to read it now. Didn't in the end, but yeah. All I remember about the plot is that it's supposed to be about fallen angels, and a girl moves to a new school where she feels like she has this connection to this boy. She feels like she knows him, or that she should know him. I think this guy's called Daniel or something like that, and I'm assuming he's like the fallen angel, but of course she can't know him because she's new to the school. But I don't know, you know how these things turn out. I think the main reason I wanted to read this book was because for ages that I've been absolutely in love with the cover, and I've actually tried, when like prom was coming up, I actually tried to find a dress similar to this, but some of them were out my price range and I just couldn't find anything perfect. But yeah, the cover is what really sold me on it, so I was really disappointed with the content. And I was told by the same friend that loaned this to me that Disney is apparently making or working on an adaptation, like to film. So I kind of wanted to read this bit in time to be ready for the film, but that film still hasn't like come out yet, not that I know of at least. I was really bored throughout the whole thing. Nothing really gripped me or concerned me as such, and the whole world in general just seemed really bleak and miserable. It was, at the time, as you can see, I didn't finish it. I just didn't feel a need to go on, and rarely I do this. Only with these maybe 2-3 books I've ever just left and never to return in the middle of a book, like in the middle of reading it. Usually I kind of force myself to read through the whole thing, so obviously at the time it wasn't that captivating to me. The reasons I want to finish the book and the series is that I've heard that with this series you kind of have to give it time, as apparently it gets better. That's just what I've heard, so I kind of wanted to go by that and sort of give it another go. I'll probably end up starting from the beginning again. I have a thing with leaving the actual bookmarks in. Like, say, if I was to pick this up again, I would leave the bookmark in so that I get to that point and think, okay, so what was the problem before? So then I can kind of get a different take on how I feel up to that point, if any of that made sense. And the other reason I want to try and finish it is because I've always had an interest in like fallen angels and angels gone corrupt and things like that, so I do really want to give this the book specifically, but the series as a whole, a second chance. I think this is like my first angel book, and for me to not be able to enjoy it, and I haven't actually picked up an angel book since this, you know, it's kind of making my whole outlook on the whole genre of like angel fantasy or whatever kind of thumbs down. So I don't want that to happen, and I want to restart and just get a good idea of whether I like the writing specifically for this and all that. I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to go on to the next book. The last book that I want to carry on with, because again I finished not even halfway this time, is Artemis, Fowl by Owen Colfer. It's the first in, I think, a pretty long series, I'm not too sure, but I was really like into it. I was like, yeah, I really want to get into this series. It's going to be awesome. It's going to look really sci-fi looking and cool, my bookshelf and everything. I'm really about how my bookshelf looks at the moment, even though I'm not really making much improvement to make it look better. But yeah, that's how I was feeling at the time. I think I even did like a almost midpoint review, like half first impressions thing, ages ago. I think it was like my first book related video ever. But the plot, really, all I remember is that it's supposed to be set in Ireland, I think, or like our protagonist is Irish or something to do with Ireland, and he runs a secret organisation that is aware of the existence of fairies. I can't remember if he works alongside the fairies or if he's kind of just like spying on them. I really can't remember, and I really don't know why I stopped, because I was enjoying it. Like, I didn't even get that far in, like maybe a third of the way through, and it's not that big a book. It's probably around 300 pages, so not that big a book. I think it was because I was at that transitional phase of going into more teenage, young adult book, and I think I just let this go first because I didn't have that strong a connection to the characters and the world and stuff. So that was kind of just like my rebel against society. I'm going to read more mature books. I'm not going to finish this. That's probably what was going through my mind subtly. Yeah, as opposed to letting go of Percy Jackson, where I've even carried on with that now because I feel like in a way I grew up with it, because they're still making books and he's kind of getting older as I'm getting older, so I feel like he's kind of my age, so I can still read it and I can still swoon over him and stuff like that. But if I was to carry on with this, I couldn't really feel that way about the characters. Does that make sense? Like, I couldn't really put that much emotion into it because they're much younger than me, and in a way I feel like a weirdo. I don't know, sometimes I get like that, and I think that's how I was feeling when I decided to just stop. I don't even think I decided to stop, it just happened one day. I really hope that made sense. I feel like I was just babbling. So the reasons I want to finish this book is not necessarily the series. I'm not too bothered about, unless it ends on a stupid cliffhanger or something, I'm not too bothered about actually finishing the series. If I finish this book, at least I'll probably end up getting rid of it, because I don't like the idea of having just one book on my shelf when I'm not intending on reading the whole series. So yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of my beautiful creatures as well, unless the second one comes out good. I don't know. But yeah, the reasons, sorry, I just went on a tangent there. The reasons I want to finish this book is, 1, I was enjoying it. Really don't know why I just like completely stopped. 2, I love fairy fiction. Fairies really fascinate me, just like angels. Anything with wings, Pegasus, anything like that. Mermaids even, flying mermaids even better. I just love things like that. It really fascinates me. Anything that's completely different from normal mundane humans, it just gets me going. And 3, this series has good popularity, and I know Owen Colfer is quite popular as a author himself, so yeah, I really want to give it another chance. So that is all for the books/series I'll try to finish in the almost near future. Not a big rush to get into it, but I would eventually in my lifetime, before I die, like to finish at least the books alone rather than the whole series. So yeah, that's all for this little book fest thing. Yeah, bye.